Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our second Cabral HouseCall of the weekend, our weekend edition of the Cabral Concept. Thank you for joining me here today. Always a pleasure to join you, going over all of our community's questions. So what I do each and every weekend is my team compiles a big document of all of the questions that have come in from the past 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so. We're typically about 6 to 8 weeks or so behind, and I really just pick up where I left off. The nice thing I feel about these specific house calls is that I'm not going back, I'm not doing I'm not doing any additional research, I'm not doing any prep. So it's essentially, let's say that you were to grab me at the end of a seminar I was doing, I step off stage, a lot of people have questions, I'm always happy to answer those. Or let's say we bump into each other at an event, whatever it might be, and you say, hey, what do you think about this? And it's just, I give you my raw answer at that moment based on, though, 20 years of being in this industry, and of course, all of the hundreds of thousands of people we've had the pleasure of working with. So, it's a fun show. There's no medical-based diagnosis. We're not treating any disease. We're not curing any diseases. What we're really talking about, and really what we're looking at, is the overall naturopathy-based philosophy. It's looking at the underlying root causes that cause all dis-ease in the body. So that's what we love to do here on the Cabral Concept in general. And the weekends is my ability to be able to essentially work with our community. And because I know that I don't have the option and opportunity to be able to do that all the time with everyone. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, first things first, we're coming in with Kayla today on September 3rd is when she wrote in. So I know this is episode 1703. If you want to follow along with the questions, highly recommend that. Head on over to stephencabral.com/1703. And now you can even watch the Cabral house calls on video. They're all on that page every single day. And of course, you can subscribe on YouTube and be able to see the daily podcast live as well. I believe it even goes live before the iTunes or podcast players as well. Okay, 1703. And this is debuting on October 4th. Okay, here we go. Kayla says, my 9-year-old son has been anxious and possibly dealing with depression post-virus. I have noticed that he has started to pull out his hair. I was wondering if you can recommend any natural supplements for antidepressants for anxiety, depression, and ADHD. Thank you. Okay, so I've done many podcasts before on anxiety and depression and ADHD and children's health-based issues. I always want to, and I have to state legally, that we are not providing any protocols or treatment plans for diseases, right? So let's talk about this in general. When people are feeling a little bit more anxious, a little bit more overwhelmed, the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about the issue. We want to get it out there. We want to get it off the chest and let children that have a very difficult time figuring out the world around them because they don't have a lot of life experience, we need to go through that and really chat with them about that. So that's a very, very important one. Make sure they feel heard. Make sure they're getting extra rest. And they also have an outlet for a lot of the stress, which is sports or playing outside, getting out in nature, getting off video games, a lot of that. And I know that's sometimes challenging, but very, very helpful. Now, first things first, we need to make sure that they're taking a good daily multi, right? So depending on the child's weight, they could take 1, 2, or 3 of the daily activated multivitamin. Let's see how old your child was. They're 9 years old. So at 9 years old, let's say the child weighs 80 pounds, well, they could take 2 daily activated multivitamins, maybe 1 at breakfast, 1 at dinner. And again, I don't know specifically for your child, so I can't give you exact protocols. But then also, really important, what's the gut health look like? What's the diet look like in general? Omega-3s. If they're not getting 1 to 2 grams of omega-3s per day, the liquid omega-3 is easy to take. The soft gels are a little larger, not always able to be taken by kids, but the liquid for sure is easy. You can put in a little bit of the smoothie, and instead of doing capsules, you can always do the daily nutritional support. So you have that right there. Besides that, magnesium is really important. So magnesium calms that sympathetic nervous system, calms fight or flight. That's also good later in the day. So it helps the better night's sleep and really great properties to it in terms of calming an anxious-based mind. So we've got our omega-3s, we've got our magnesium we spoke about. Zinc is another big one that's important to be able to use. The B vitamins, but they're already going to get that in their daily activated multi or their daily nutritional support. So you really want the B6s, the B12. Again, those are already in there, the magnesium and the zinc. So those are the big ones, the omega-3s you add in. And then if you really needed to calm the body, then you would start to use something like an adrenal soothe as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Dar's up next. Hey, Dr. Cabral. Hope all is well with you and your family. I am well aware there's no silver bullet and aging is inevitable. Natural process, but for men 40 plus, is there anything they can take to maintain increased muscle mass, fitness gains, sex drive, performance without resorting to hormone replacement therapy? Maybe it's vanity, but I knew that what I was capable of naturally, the physique and performances are slowly regressing. I am an otherwise healthy person. I use your supplements, follow your man's guide to muscle and strength, and they're really good, and I'm forever grateful. But I see some of my peers on hormone replacement therapy who look better and claim they're performing better than they were in their 20s. I don't want to go that far because I don't know future side effects. Are there any at all? Anyway, keep up the great work. All right, Dar. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and there are absolutely natural ways. So I have no plans to use hormone replacement therapy in my life. If I do, it would be in 70s and beyond for sure. And again, by the time I get to my 70s, it's 30 more years. So great. I've got all these other things that will happen in the meantime that we can kind of look into. But here's the thing. First and foremost, run a stress hormones, mood, and metabolism test with Equilibrium Nutrition. No doubt about it. You're going to get a protocol. You're going to find out what your natural hormone levels are. And the big thing is this, is that 40s is way too young to be having reduced hormones for men. Way too young. Like way too young. So hopefully you read the book, The Rain Barrel Effect. You use the de-stress protocol, without a doubt. You're using the right type of diet plan. You're getting enough protein. You're doing your 3 days a week of resistance training. You're not overtraining and wearing down your hormones. And then if needed, we'll just give you the extra support. Check out my podcast on boosting testosterone. Vitamin C, zinc, there's some other great things in there. And you need to make sure you're getting all of your nutrients. And then if we ever need to, certainly not in your 40s, but if we need to, we'll use DHEA for a boost to get you there. And then we'll taper off of that in, anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And then maybe in your early 60s, late 50s at the earliest, we might add in DHEA for both men and women because it's a precursor, a pro-hormone that leads to then more testosterone. And more testosterone's going to lead to less adiposity or less body fat gain. It's going to lead to better mood, more strength gains, more endurance, no doubt about it. So I just believe that 40s is way too young to be using hormone replacement therapy because it's also the prime years, basically 30 to 60, 30 to 70 years old, let's say 65 for happy medium, where your chances of getting anabolic-based disease increase. So that's why the more protein, the more testosterone, the more anabolic you make your body, the more chance of cancer, heart disease, etc. So again, I just don't think that you need it right away. And I just feel that it is short-sighted because when you go too high in these hormone replacement therapies, which most men are, they pretend that they're bringing their levels back to their 20s, but really they're off the charts. And because we test guys all the time. I mean, I do this for a living. So anyway, there's other ways to go about this. Thank you for writing in. All right, Nicole's up next. Can you start the CBO protocol while taking Methotrexate for RA? My mom takes the injections once a week. All right, let's kind of go through this. She's dealing with joint pain, swelling in the wrist, fatigue, diarrhea, brain fog, acne, random rashes, skin issues, anxiety, depression, body aches, horrible allergies, sinus issues. She tries to eat paleo, but does cheat and she feels sick when she does. Mainly cheats on sweets and sugar. She's had tragic losses in her life, Clostridium difficile. She received antibiotics. She's retired on a fixed income, can't afford testing, but hopes to start a protocol. Where would you start? Okay, I get it. I understand. I mean, rheumatoid arthritis, I spoke about this yesterday for myasthenia gravis, autoimmune issues. We don't treat them differently. Again, we're not providing treatment protocols for diagnosed diseases, but you have to understand that rheumatoid arthritis didn't come out of nowhere. I work with so many people with RA in my practice. And what I want you to know is that there's always an answer. I mean, really, there's always an answer. So you have to look at the gut. You have to look at heavy metals. You have to look at stress on the body. You have to look at viruses, right? And if I could say look at two, I'd say look at leaky gut intestinal permeability and look at toxins. I mean, that's really it. Like those, I would definitely do those first. So, I mean, yes. I mean, if you can run labs, you run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test first. And ideally you run the starter kit, which includes then the minerals and metals test because you're on a fixed income. And so you maybe then wouldn't run the big five. I get it. I totally understand. If you had to start with a protocol, again, this is not for RA. I'm not providing protocols for RA, treatment protocols for RA. But to begin to help the gut, the CBO protocol with the citracetyl drops would be a great first place to start. Follow the nutrition plan. Use the daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3 ideally. And if you had to take out one, take out the daily fruit and vegetable blend. Remove the food sensitivity. So again, if you can run a food sensitivity test, definitely do that. And then do the CBO finisher. I mean, that's at least a great place to start. Great place to start. And before you do any of that, a 21-day detox. Before you do any of that, 21-day detox. Okay, thanks for writing in. All right, next up is Judy. Judy says, "Hi, Dr. Rawl. I notice when I wake in the morning, my blood sugar often ranges from 83 to 110, which I heard is not normal." Oh, I know, Judy. Judy, I answered this question a week or two ago, so you can just go back and you can find the other Judy, which is you. This has already been answered. So usually my team catches all those. Sometimes people write in multiple times because they don't think their question went through or it hasn't been answered yet, but it's definitely going to be answered. For sure, it's going to be answered. So Lorraine is up next. She says, "I'm so frustrated, Dr. Brawl. I did the CBO protocol after finding some yeast in the oat. After completed it, I did the oat 3 weeks later to check it was gone. The oat results were worse. It showed more yeast and now even more Clostridium markers than I had before. How is this even possible? When I finished the CBO, I went to Greece and yes, was having 1 glass of wine every night and a lot of Greek salads, which you know involves a lot of onion. I don't know if that was the issue or what happened, but I was very strict when following the CBO. What do I do now? Do I do it again? I cannot believe this." Lorena, I understand your frustration. Believe me, I know. You're speaking to someone who relapsed and relapsed and relapsed for 10 years. So I get it. So here's the thing. The CBO protocol does work. We know it works. We do before and afters. And yes, sometimes people have issues if they begin to integrate foods back in too quickly. But however, Lorena, remember, all is not lost. You were adding a lot of prebiotics and fructans back in directly after. And then you did your oat just 3 weeks after. But here's the thing. We always tell people, give yourself 4 to 6 weeks after the CBO protocol because, Lorena, you did not complete the CBO finisher yet. The CBO finisher is going to help heal and seal that gut wall. So here's what I want you to do. Talk with the team because you probably spoke with the health coaching team. They're going to recommend a modified CBO protocol, which is only 1 to 2 months maximum, typically just 4 weeks. And then you're going to complete the CBO finisher or do that at the same time as the CBO finisher. And then if you choose to, you can rerun it again. But I think you'll find the symptoms are gone, you're feeling great, you're doing great, and then slowly integrate back in some of that wine and the prebiotics as well. All right. And I did a show on prebiotics, so you're welcome to listen to that too. Laura is up next. Let me check my time. Oh, we're doing fantastic. Laura's up. "Hi, Dr. Ball. Thank you for the podcast. It's so important and so informative and amazing. Helps so much. And also we can learn a lot about health and healthy living. I cannot go a day without it." Thanks. Thanks, Laura. I appreciate that. My question today is about Swiss biological medicine and Dr. Thomas Rau. I think it's Rao. I finally started working with a nutritionist who is certified Paraclesis health practitioner and uses his protocols and knowledge. Are you familiar with his work, considering he is one of the leading biological medicine people in Europe? I would love to know your opinion on his work and protocols, which can be similar to what you preach. And maybe you can invite him on your podcast on a Thursday Talk with Cabral. Thank you for all your answers and hard work. Love to all, Laura. Laura, thanks for spreading all the love. And not only do I know Dr. Thomas Rao or Rao, he is part of the same, I think he's on the board, the same board that I'm on, the advisory board for the why am I blanking right now? For the Bioregulatory Medicine Institute. I apologize, Bioregulatory Medicine Institute. A lot of thoughts going through the brain right now. So I believe he's on the advisory board for Europe. I'm on the advisory board for the US. So, and again, it's a nonprofit. It's meant to share naturopathy and all biological-based medicine, which certified in and practice myself. So a lot of people don't know, but a big part of my background is bioregulatory medicine, everything from live blood microscopy, dried blood microscopy, dark field, light field, like you name it. I was doing that for many, many years, as well as bioregulatory-based principles. Now, I've spoken about bioregulatory medicine many times. I talk about homotoxicology. I would love for you to go back and check out those shows. That's some of my favorite work. It's very specialized work. It's very deep, but it's amazing. Check out the 6 phases of disease. I would love for you to check out that podcast. I mean, it basically mirrors perfectly with Ayurveda and brings it up to modern day. It's really, really great. Dr. Thomas Rayo is fantastic, and I've talked about his book before. So by the way, Lara already spoke about him on the podcast, already did a book recommendation for him, and actually met him in Germany. So he was at the World Medicine Institute, the World Medicine Seminar I was at last October in Germany, in Baden-Baden. Love Germany, love Baden-Baden. Was really happy that I got to go there because I had been to France. I've been to Italy and love both of those countries. And now I got to visit Germany and I love the German people as well. Okay. And of course, I'd love to have him on a show. Without a doubt. It's a good idea. All right. Darren is up next. Hey, good day, Dr. Cabral. What are your thoughts on float tanks, float therapy, and sensory deprivation tanks? Are the supposed benefits real or not? Keep up the great work. Darren, Lara, and other people as well. Go to stephencabral.com/podcast. Now, again, I'm tongue-in-cheek here, but I don't want you to have to wait 6 weeks to get your answer. These questions have been answered. I'm afraid if I move out of this document that I'm going to lose it. So let me see if I can pull up a internet tab here. All right. So I'm screen recording right now. That's why I have my computer here. So let me just go to stephencabral.com/podcast. I'm just going to do this real quick because I know that I've spoken about float tanks before. I talked about them in the rain barrel effect and have spoken about them many times and the real benefits of them. So float tanks help to reduce sympathetic nervous system activity and increase parasympathetic nervous system activity. They help to reduce and calm the brain, anxiety, etc. And I think they're absolutely amazing. So Float Tank is on episode 399. It talks about holiday gift ideas. Let's just see if float is in there. Let's just type in the single word float. It's on episode 399, 367, 268, 1120, 1108, 1048. All right, so lots of them there. Let's see if float therapy is in there. And on float therapy, it's also on 1108 as well. So I've spoken about it before, but let's say I didn't give a specific answer. Let's give you a specific answer today. I'm happy to do that because, again, I'm happy to talk about these topics. That's what Ask Cabral is all about. So float tank therapy is amazing. It really is fantastic. Here's the thing. You have to dedicate 60 to 90 minutes to it. You can't do a 30-minute session. So what it is basically you're lying in this big bathtub, essentially, right? It has a cover that can go down on you if you want. It's dimly lit or pitch black. Ideally, if you're not nervous about being in the pitch black, then do that. Close the top of the tank. You're floating on your back, and there's so much salt in the water that you basically float. So you get the feeling basically of weightlessness. This is absolutely fantastic for children and adults. Again, your child has to be supervised, but children and adults that are dealing with feelings of Vata imbalance in Ayurveda, or anxiety and overwhelm and nervousness and super stress and insomnia, any nervous system or mind imbalance, mental health-based imbalance, it can be fantastic for. Again, go into it with an open mind, but really you can listen to soothing, relaxing music, or simply complete deprivation, which is no sound and no sight really, because it's pitch black and you're floating in water. So I know that might sound scary. So again, they have some with some just mood lighting, and then they have some that you can just keep the door open. You can close your own eyes, or you can wear fogged out goggles. So absolutely check it out and support your local float tank center. They're just typically called float centers near you. And you can just type in float therapy, float tank, or float center, and just your local float therapy center will pop up. But no, Darren, I definitely would recommend trying it out. And it could be one of those things where you get benefit from acupuncture, benefit from a light massage, benefit from float tank. So definitely check it out. And I think that you'll enjoy it. I really do. Well, that is it for our show today. We've hit our time. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure, as always. If this show was helpful, please do feel free to share this information with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. And I'll speak to you tomorrow on our Mindset and Motivation Mondays. Stay tuned. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.